Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. And today we continue our Talisman series, but more importantly, we continue building something that every serious player needs to understand, because this is not just about choosing a talisman, this is about understanding how a hero behaves in different situations, how small stat changes can completely shift the outcome of a fight, and how the right decision at the right time can be the difference between victory and defeat. Because talismans are not just upgrades. They are tools, they are flexible, they are dynamic, and they allow you to adapt your hero to the fight in front of you in a way that no other system in the game does, and that is exactly why mastering them is so important. Now, if you've been following the series, you already know we've been breaking this down hero by hero, going deeper into how each talisman interacts with the kit, and more importantly, how it translates into real performance in battle, and today we arrive at one of the heroes where this decision matters the most. Yasmin. The Assassin Queen of Nature. A hero that doesn't just deal damage. She executes. She disappears, she targets weakness, she strikes where it hurts the most, and in many cases, she decides fights in a single moment, because when Yasmin reaches the backline, when she locks onto that low armor target, when everything aligns, the fight can end instantly. And that is exactly why her talisman choice is so important, because with Yasmin, small differences in stats don't just change numbers. They change outcomes. So let's start with the first option. The Talisman of Vengeance. And immediately, this one fits perfectly with her identity. Agility as the main stat. Critical hit chance as the secondary. And this combination is exactly what you expect from a hero that relies on fast, lethal bursts to eliminate targets before they can react. Agility increases her physical attack, which directly improves her damage scaling across all her abilities, and then you add critical hit chance on top of that, and suddenly every strike becomes more dangerous, every jump becomes more threatening, and every successful engagement becomes more likely to end in an instant kill. This talisman is pure offense. It amplifies everything that Yasmin is designed to do. It increases her ability to burst targets down quickly, and in teams built around critical hits, it becomes even more powerful, because the higher that crit chance goes, the more consistent those executions become. So on paper, this is the aggressive choice. The direct choice. The end the fight now option. But then we move into the second talisman. The Talisman of Dancer. And this is where things start to shift. Because now we are no longer focusing only on damage. Now we are introducing survivability into the equation. Dodge as the main stat. Physical attack as the secondary. And this combination creates a completely different playstyle. At first glance, dodge might seem strange for an assassin, because you expect Yasmin to eliminate targets quickly, not to stand in the fight and survive pressure, but when you understand how she is actually played in many of the current meta teams, this choice starts to make perfect sense. Because in dodge compositions, especially when paired with heroes like Dante and Octavia, Yasmin is not just a backline assassin. She becomes part of a system that relies on avoiding damage entirely. And in some cases, she is even positioned closer to the front, acting almost like a pseudo-tank, absorbing pressure through dodge rather than raw durability, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And this is where the Talisman of Dancer becomes incredibly powerful. Because it doesn't just give her survivability. It gives her time. Time to avoid incoming damage. Time to survive early aggression. Time to reach that moment where she can execute. And that time is everything. Because Yasmin doesn't need long fights. She needs one moment. One clean opportunity. And if dodge gives her that moment, the fight is over. So now you have two completely different directions. One focused on pure damage and critical burst. The other focused on survival and timing. And this is where the real decision begins. Because the question is no longer which talisman is stronger. The question is which talisman fits the situation you are facing. If you are playing Yasmin in a dodge line, if she is part of a composition that relies on evasion, on disruption, on avoiding damage and striking back at the right time, then the Talisman of Dancer becomes the natural choice, because it supports the entire structure of that team, and it allows Yasmin to function exactly as she is intended in that setup. But if you are playing her in a more aggressive composition, if she is protected by heroes like Oya and Tristan in front, with support from Hus behind, if the goal is to maximize critical hits and create explosive bursts of damage, then the Talisman of Vengeance starts to shine, because in those teams, survivability is already handled, and what you need is more damage, more consistency in critical hits, and more pressure from the very first moment. And this is where most players make the mistake. They choose one talisman. And they never change it. They treat it as a permanent decision. But talismans are not meant to be permanent. They are meant to adapt. They are meant to respond to the fight in front of you. They are meant to be tested, adjusted, and optimized depending on the opponent. Because the difference between these two talismans is not theoretical. It is practical. It is something you feel in real fights, in different matchups, in different scenarios, where sometimes the extra dodge saves you, and sometimes the extra critical hit wins you the fight instantly. So for us, the conclusion is simple. Yasmin's talisman choice is situational. Both talismans are strong. Both have a purpose. The Talisman of Vengeance dominates in critical hit compositions where early burst can decide the outcome, while the Talisman of Dancer defines the dodge meta, giving her the survivability and consistency needed to operate in those high evasion teams that have shaped the game for so long. And that is what makes this decision so interesting. Because there is no single answer. There is only understanding. Understanding the fight. Understanding the team. Understanding the moment. So Guardians, now we want to hear from you. Do you stick to one talisman for Yasmin? Or do you adapt depending on the situation? Have you tested both? And did you feel the difference in real battles? Let us know in the comments. And tell us which hero you want us to cover next, because we are just getting started with nature, and there is still so much to explore. We're going deeper. We're going smarter. And by the end of this series, you won't just equip talismans. You'll understand them. Stay tuned, stay sharp. And as always, salute and friendship.